Question before we get into anything today. Have you ever been lying in bed at 2 in the morning, perfectly comfortable, and then your brain suddenly decides to replay something embarrassing you said at a party years ago?
Oh, 100%. Just last Tuesday, my brain reminded me about the time I waved back at someone who was not waving at me. That happened 6 years ago, Emma. 6 years, and it still stings. And the worst detail? The actual target of the wave was standing directly behind me. Lee made eye contact.
The phantom wave. Well, today we're talking about that exact feeling, regret. The big ones, the small ones, and why our brains love to bring them up at the worst possible time.
And more importantly, what we can actually do about regret. Because everybody has them. If you tell me you have 0 regrets, I either don't believe you or you're simply not paying attention. And honestly, I'd be a tiny bit worried about you either way.
That's a bold statement. Okay, before we go too deep, when we say regret, what are we actually talking about? It's such a common word, but I think it covers an awful lot.
It does. At its simplest, regret is that heavy feeling you get when you look back at a choice and think, I wish I'd done that differently. It's sadness mixed with a kind of longing for a past you can't reach anymore.
A past you can't reach. That's quite poetic for a Tuesday morning, Jake. But you're right. It's the longing that does the damage, isn't it? Not just the mistake itself.
I have my moments. But honestly, that's what makes regret so painful. You can't go back and fix it. It's completely out of your control. And most of us do not deal well with things we can't control.
So let's get personal for a second. What's one of yours? And don't say the waving thing. That doesn't count. Give us a proper one.
All right, a real one. About 10 years ago, I was offered a job in another country, Portugal actually. Good money, exciting work, and I turned it down because I was scared. Scared of the language, scared of starting over. I still wonder about that life sometimes.
Oh, that's a big one. Do you still kick yourself about it? And by kick yourself, I don't mean literally. I mean blaming yourself, getting annoyed at yourself every time it comes to mind.
Less than I used to. For years, yes, absolutely. Every time something went wrong in my actual life, I'd think, well, in the Portugal life, this wouldn't be happening. Which isn't true, by the way. Problems exist there, too. It rains in Lisbon.
Right, Lisbon isn't a magical problem-free zone. But here's something I find fascinating. Apparently, in the long run, people regret the things they didn't do far more than the things they did do.
That rings true for me. The stuff I tried and failed at, I got over quickly. It's the doors I never even opened that still poke me in the ribs occasionally. Failed attempts fade. Missed chances stick around.
Poke you in the ribs. I like that. Okay, so that was a big regret. Give me a small one now, a silly one. Everyone has a silly one.
Easy. In 2015, I decided I could cut my own hair. Emma, I could not cut my own hair. I looked like a very sad hedgehog for about a month, and there are photographs that will outlive me.
Oh no, did anybody say anything to your face?
My boss asked whether I'd lost a bet, which in a way I had, a bet against my own abilities. Anyway, that regret barely hurts now. It's basically comedy. So why do some regrets turn into funny stories, while others stay painful for decades?
Ooh, good question. I think the painful ones are usually attached to something deeper. Love, family, identity. A haircut is just a haircut, but turning down a dream feels like you betrayed a version of yourself.
That's very wise and slightly devastating. Thanks for that. No, but I think you're right. And that's why those regrets can really eat away at you. They slowly wear you down over time like water dripping on stone.
And I think the way we handle them matters too. Some of us, and I've definitely been guilty of this, we dwell on things. We go over them again and again in our heads, like pressing a bruise to check whether it still hurts.
Pressing a bruise is exactly what it feels like. And you always press too hard. Why do we do that? It's not productive. Nothing changes. And yet, at 2 in the morning, there I am, pressing away like it's a hobby.
Part of it is hindsight, I think. You know the phrase, hindsight is 20/20? When you look back, everything seems obvious, like perfect vision. But at the time, you were making that decision in a fog.
Right.
I wasn't some fool who turned down a great opportunity. I was a 26-year-old with rent to pay and an anxious personality, making the best call I could with the information I had at that moment.
Yes, we judge our past selves with today's knowledge, and that's completely unfair. You couldn't have known how things would turn out. Nobody hands you the answers in advance.
Okay, but let me push back a little. Sometimes we did know. Sometimes there was a little voice saying, "Don't send that text," and we sent it anyway. I can't blame the fog for everything I've done.
All right, fair enough. Sometimes the little voice was screaming and we put it on mute. But even then, being human means overriding good advice every now and again, especially our own.
True. I've ignored myself more times than I can count. I'm basically a wise stranger whose advice I never take. Honestly, I make terrible decisions for someone who's usually right.
Okay, here's one of mine, and it's the deeper kind. My grandmother used to call me every Sunday. One week I was busy, life was hectic, and I kept thinking, I'll call her back tomorrow. Then tomorrow became the day after, and the day after became a deadline at work. I never got that tomorrow. She passed away that winter, and the phone call stayed permanently unmade.
Oh, Emma, I'm really sorry. That one's heavy. And I imagine Sundays still carry a particular feeling for you, even now, all these years later.
They do. For a long time, I carried it around like a stone in my pocket. What eventually helped was realizing that the regret came from love. It hurt because I loved her. The size of the regret matched the size of the love.
That's a beautiful way to hold it, and honestly, probably the healthiest. Instead of treating the regret like an enemy to defeat, you treated it like evidence of something good, evidence that the relationship mattered.
It took years, honestly. Now, let me ask you something else, because people mix these up. What's the difference between regret and guilt? Or remorse, that stronger word for feeling deeply sorry about something you've done wrong?
Good distinction. I'd say guilt and remorse require a wrongdoing. You hurt someone, you broke something. But regret can exist with no crime at all. I didn't harm anyone by turning down Lisbon. I just made a choice I now second-guess. I doubt it. I question it.
Exactly. And guilt often comes with a possible fix, or at least a next step. You can apologize. You can make amends. Try to repair the damage, even long afterwards.
Which genuinely works, by the way. 2 years ago, I messaged an old friend I'd fallen out with a decade earlier. I just said, "I handled things badly, and I'm sorry." He replied within the hour. We've had lunch 3 times since.
That's lovely. See, better late than never. And it sounds so simple in the end. Were you nervous before sending it?
Better late than never, absolutely. And yes, in my head, I'd built it up into this terrifying confrontation. In reality, it was 2 middle-aged men awkwardly saying, "No worries, mate," and eating sandwiches. Deeply undramatic.
The most British possible resolution. Now, I want to bring up the whole no regrets philosophy. It's on mugs, on tattoos, in song lyrics. Live with no regrets. What do you make of that?
Well, my favorite version is people who get the tattoo and it's misspelled, no regrets, which is ironic on about 5 different levels if you think about it for more than 2 seconds.
No, that can't be real. Please tell me that's an internet legend.
It's real. There are photographs. Imagine permanently writing no regrets on your body, instantly creating a regret about your no regrets tattoo. It's honestly beautiful. A perfect circle. Poetry, really.
Okay, but seriously, is the no regrets mindset healthy? Part of me admires it, you know? Just owning your choices completely and marching forward without looking back.
Here's my issue with it. If you truly have no regrets, when exactly do you learn? Regret is feedback. A person who never feels it is either extraordinarily lucky or simply never reflecting. Though I'll admit, I understand the appeal. It does sound freeing.
So you see regret as useful data, not a life sentence. The feeling arrives, sits down, you read what it's telling you, and then you and not it get to decide what happens next.
Ooh, data, not a life sentence. Write that down. That was genuinely good. Yes, exactly. Every regret is your past self sending you a report about what matters to you. Read the report. Don't frame it and stare at it every day for 20 years.
There's a great slang expression for the trap of staring at it. We say someone's stuck in the woulda, coulda, shoulda. That's exactly how would have, could have, should have sounds when it's spoken quickly.
I should have known that. See what I did there? But yes, those three little words are basically the anthem of regret. It's the soundtrack of every late-night ceiling staring session ever recorded.
So what's the way out? For me, the biggest shift came from self-compassion, basically treating myself the way I treat a close friend. If my best friend said she felt awful about a missed phone call, I'd never say, yes, you're terrible. I'd say you were doing your best.
That's such a simple test, and yet almost nobody applies it to themselves. We are our own harshest critics. I would never speak to another human being the way I speak to myself at midnight. My inner voice would have no friends.
None whatsoever. And here's a practical one that helped me. Write it down. I know journaling sounds like something off a motivational poster, but getting a regret out of your head and onto paper genuinely shrinks it.
It does. Thoughts rattling around in your head are like unread emails. They just sit there demanding attention with little red badges. Writing is how you finally open them, read them properly, and file them away where they belong.
File them away. Lovely. Second practical one. If the regret is about something you didn't do, ask whether you still can. Some doors stay open much longer than we assume.
Funnily enough, that's exactly what happened with music. I'd always regretted never learning the guitar, kept saying someday. Then last year I realized someday was just a word I used to avoid being bad at something, so I went out and bought a cheap guitar.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know this. How's it going, Rockstar?
Terribly, thank you for asking. I sound like a raccoon falling down a staircase. But you know what? It's become my favorite regret of all time, because it's dead now. I killed it with 12 weeks of genuinely awful chord changes.
I killed it with bad chord changes. Honestly, that could be the motto for this entire episode. If you can still act on it, even badly, especially badly.
Especially badly, yes. Being a beginner is embarrassing for about 6 weeks. Regret is embarrassing forever. Do the maths. The numbers are extremely clear on this one.
Now, what about the ones you can't fix? Because Portugal is gone, right? That specific job, that specific moment, at that specific salary, it's over.
Yeah, that door is closed. Those are the tough ones. There's a name for them, actually. Sliding doors moments, from that film where a woman's life splits into two parallel versions based on whether she catches a train or just misses it. One tiny second, two completely different lives. And we all have our own private list of trains we missed.
I think about those parallel lives too much, to be honest. Like there's a whole other Emma out there somewhere, living the life I didn't choose. And she's probably thriving. Her plants are alive, everything's great.
But notice the trick your brain plays there. The other Emma is always thriving. Nobody imagines the parallel life where things went badly wrong. In your imagination, alternative you has a great apartment and perfect skin. It's propaganda, Emma. Your brain is running an advert for a life that never existed.
Propaganda. Okay, that's fair enough. The unchosen life always gets better lighting in the trailer. And the reality is, my actual life contains good things that the other life simply wouldn't have.
Right. You can't compare a full, real life with all its boring Tuesdays, burned dinners, and surprise joys against a highlight reel your own imagination invented. That fight is rigged, and you will lose it every single time.
Here's where I might slightly push back on a famous piece of advice, though. People love saying everything happens for a reason. Sometimes I do find that comforting. Where do you stand?
Honestly, not really. I don't think my Lisbon rejection happened for some cosmic reason. I think I made a scared decision, full stop. I find you made a choice, now make the best of it, far more honest. But I know that phrase genuinely comforts a lot of people, so I don't begrudge it.
No, I appreciate the honesty, and I think I'm closer to your side than I realized. Maybe the better idea is the silver lining. Not that the bad thing was secretly good, but that something good eventually grew next to it.
I'll accept silver lining. I never moved to Lisbon. but staying meant I met my wife at a bus stop 2 years later. Would that have happened in some other version? No idea. But I can't regret away a life that contains her. She's the silver lining.
Oh, that's really lovely. Please tell her you said that. She'll forgive the guitar playing eventually.
She's the one who bought herself earplugs labeled "for the house." True love is honest, Emma. Brutally, acoustically honest.
Okay, practically speaking, there's one question that saved me from several future regrets. Before a big decision, I ask myself, will I regret not doing this in 10 years? It cuts through fear, because fear screams right now, but regret whispers for decades.
I like that a lot. There's another version, the 10-10-10 rule. Ask how you'll feel about a choice in 10 minutes, 10 months, and 10 years. The 10-minute answer is usually fear talking. The 10-year answer is usually wisdom.
Ooh, I'm stealing that. Although, gentle disagreement, sometimes I think we're far too casual about telling people to just take the leap. Sometimes playing it safe is the right call. Savings accounts exist for a reason.
You're absolutely right. And I say that as someone who once took a leap on a second-hand car that died in the middle of a roundabout. The real trick is knowing which chances are bridges and which are cliffs.
Bridges and cliffs. Very good. And maybe that's where regret actually earns its keep. Feeling it once teaches you to tell the difference next time. It becomes a kind of compass.
A compass, not a cage. That's the full job description for regret, really. The moment it stops guiding you and starts imprisoning you, it has officially overstayed its welcome.
Overstayed its welcome, like an awkward house guest. Which brings me to another thing that helps enormously, saying it out loud. A regret kept in silence grows. A regret spoken aloud, to someone kind, shrinks.
Completely agree. There's a reason people confess things on long car journeys. Well, that and you can't easily escape a moving vehicle. But yes, share a regret and you'll almost always discover the other person is carrying one just like it.
And for anyone listening right now who's carrying something heavy, we should say clearly, you are not alone in this. It's probably the most universal human feeling there is, right after wanting snacks at midnight.
Statistically accurate. Everyone you know has a Lisbon, a haircut, an unsent apology sitting in a drawer. It's the price of a life actually lived, choices actually made.
Now, for our listeners who are learning English, regret even has its own grammar, which is quite beautiful. Listen to these. I wish I had called her. If only I had taken that job. We use those past forms, had called, had taken, to reach back to a past we'd change if we could.
And you'll hear native speakers use it constantly. I wish I'd studied more. If only we'd left earlier. I shouldn't have said anything. Honestly, when you use that structure, you're not just practicing grammar. You're joining the entire human race in its favorite hobby, wishing the past were negotiable.
So painfully true. Now, letting go. People throw that phrase around constantly. You just need to let it go. But what does it actually mean in real life? You can't just delete a memory like a file.
For me, letting go isn't erasing anything. It's more like making peace with the fact that it happened, accepting the past is fixed, and then choosing where your energy goes instead. The memory stays. The grip loosens.
The memory stays. The grip loosens. That's the most honest definition I've ever heard. Time helps too, doesn't it? Eventually, things become water under the bridge, something that happened that you've simply stopped arguing with.
Exactly that phrase, yes. And notice, what's done is done sounds cold, almost dismissive, but water under the bridge has some gentleness in it. The river kept moving, and so did you.
I love that. All right, I want to come back to where we started, that 2 a.m. moment when your brain serves you an old regret on a silver plate, like a waiter you never hired. After everything we've talked about today, the guitar, the sliding doors, the compass, what do we actually do with it, lying there in the dark?
Honestly, treat it like that house guest. Acknowledge it calmly. Yes, I remember you. I know why you're here. Maybe promise yourself one small action for the morning, even something tiny. Then, very kindly, show it the door.
Show it the door. That's going to genuinely help me tonight. And here's something else I've been sitting with during this conversation. A regret means you cared about something. That's not shameful. It's evidence of a functioning heart.
And very often, it's evidence of growth, too. You only regret a choice once you've become someone who would choose differently. In a strange way, the regret itself means the upgrade already happened. The old you made that call. The current you wouldn't.
That's wonderfully put. Though I have to ask, have you been saving these lines up all week? Be honest.
Maybe one or two, but I mean them. I wouldn't trade the person I am now. The one shaped by missing Lisbon, by the hedgehog haircut, by being musically unbearable, for some polished version who never got anything wrong. He'd be insufferable at parties for a start.
He really would be. Perfect people are exhausting company. All right, if you're listening and there's one thing you've been meaning to do, the phone call, the apology, the guitar, the language course, a haircut not performed by yourself in a mirror,
Do it this week. Not perfectly, not dramatically, not waiting for some grand 1st of January version of yourself to appear. Just quietly, this week. Small and done beats
small and done beats perfect and imaginary. And if your regret is something that can't be done or undone, be gentle with yourself tonight. You worked with what you knew back then. You've grown since. Honestly, that growth is the apology.
Beautifully said. And we began this conversation with a 2 a.m. question, so let me offer a better question to fall asleep on instead. Not why did I do that, but what will I do now?
One of those questions is a locked door. The other one is wide open, and I know which one I'd rather spend my life walking through.
Exactly. The past is a locked door. You can knock all night and nobody will ever answer because nobody lives there anymore. And here's the thing nobody tells you about locked doors. The longer you stand knocking on one, the less time you spend walking through all the open ones down the corridor.
And that feels like the perfect place to leave it. Thank you for sitting with us today through the heavy stories and the hedgehog haircuts. If this conversation lightened even one small thing you've been carrying, then it has done its job completely.
Here's my last thought then. A regret means you cared about something enough to look back at it. And the fact that it still moves you means part of you is still reaching forward. So hold the lesson, gently release the rest, and get some proper sleep tonight. Tomorrow morning is wide open. It speaks your language beautifully, and it's been waiting for you the whole time. Good night, everybody. Thank you for listening.